So here is my Apple III that I picked up a few months ago. And right over here is a 5 megabyte profile disk. Now, the eBay bid that I had for that Apple III, the profile interface card, sort of fell through. So I took it upon myself to research the card and see if I'm able to recreate that card from scratch using modern day parts. So let's give it a shot. So what I'm doing here is mapping out the traces and the vias on the original card. The goal here was just to familiarize myself with the layout and kind of get an idea of where each of the chips connects on the board. It was more of a visual aid to help with cross-referencing the schematic and in terms of the resistor, capacitor, and chip connections between each other on the board. So I decided to film halfway through this project. I'm going to throw in some pictures of some of the work I did before that. The first couple are some of the interface pieces for the devices. The next was a check to make sure the card fit into the slot. And the last was a side-by-side of the original card versus my card. I wanted to show where we're at right now. So I got the card layout kind of figured out. The DB25 connectors pinned out from 1 to 25. I mean, these just go here, so I don't think that would be a problem. I did get the voltage rails kind of toned out is not the right word, but sorted. I wanted to do all the like +5 and ground on the back, so in the event of signal attenuation, which I'm not sure about, I just wanted to get that separation at least there. I'm following the diagram I drew out with the real card, so I'm just going through the lines and just making sure they correspond to the correct capacitors and resistors. Last night I did some drawing out of the nets. This is more of a personal reference for me to make sure that I can tone out where each piece goes. And in terms of the card itself, I'm not going to order any PCBs yet. I just want to make sure that the modern day chip replacements like the LS Logic chips will work with this. I don't know. We shall see. And in terms of the interface, this was a hard design choice. It's kind of hacked in with a connector I built. I'm a little concerned about connection, but you know, with my testing, it seemed to work just fine. So eventually I will get a PCB designed. This is more of a Rev 0, so to make sure that the resistor packs, and then there is one chip, I think it's a 9334, it's actually up here, it is this one. It didn't really have a one-to-one comparison on DigiKey or any other website I checked, so I'm a little concerned about that, but future self-cutting in here. I pulled this disk to interface card from my 2E and found that it also contains a 9334 chip, and this chip specifically is an 8-bit addressable latch. And when I searched for it, I found the LS259 would be a match for that. So I put that chip in here, ran a test, and it seemed to pick up the drives just fine. So that shouldn't be any of a hindrance there. All right, so the ground plane is now complete. So that checks off the power and the ground. I got the DB25 pins as well. Let's go ahead and flip it over. It is quite messy, a little bit more than I intended it to be, but I wanted to match the original board as close as possible in terms of which capacitors align with which chips. I think what I'll do next is the resistors to the chips. I figured that might be easier prior to getting the wires next to the chips itself in case I need to go under. I've seen a glimpse of what this will look like in the end, and I'm a little nervous to keep it clean. I have completed the resistor networks as well as the resistor packs. So RP1, A7, and B7. This one was a little tricky. I'm hoping that it won't interfere with each other. I actually did forget a ground, so I got that back connected there. In terms of the rest of the board now is only logic to logic. So, you know, the LS74 chips, I'll need to connect those back together. So can't decide what color to do. I'll probably do blue just to keep it consistent with the other pins there. So almost there. All right, wrapping day 2 on this ProFile card. I totally forgot about the card edge connector and the wires that go into this section. So I went ahead and wired that in prior to the rest of the chips up here. In terms of cleanliness, I mean, I'm trying to keep it clean. I have some enameled wire kind of wrapped around to the back side. I don't really know. I mean, I guess we could put some pins underneath, but I think that, I don't know. I kind of like the look of the transformer wire. All right, so day 3 coming to a close. I got a lot of the chips crossed off here. We can look at the schematic. It's coming along. One thing I noticed, so my schematic, the way I drew it, if we look at the piece here, so I didn't realize that was a 14 position. I put in a 16 position in A2. So I have 2 additional bottom pins here, and I didn't notice it and wired these, the 4 pins down here. So these all need to be shifted up 1. No, not really a big deal. I mean, at least they're not crimped down with anything. So I'll just redo those. Not really that big of a deal. In terms of other items, so I did some research and found out that there is a revision B, and the card I'm going off of is revision A with 2 330 ohm resistor packs. And the cable that came with my ProFile, or that I have with my ProFile, is, I believe, model 590-020B, which is incompatible with the 330 ohm resistor packs, at least according to the technical specifications manual. So the proper ones are 2 100 ohm resistor packs, so I'll get those ordered. Hopefully they'll be here in time to test it out. In terms of other items, I did add some labels just for my sanity. It's getting a little difficult to keep cross-referencing diagrams. So, all right, so day 4, and we have completed the card, or at least crossed off all of the connections on the schematic. Currently now I'm going through the nets that I drew out and just confirming that we have everything wired up properly. Next step would be to put in all the chips and give it a test. And with that, the card is finished. There were some, I'm glad that I went through and repinned out all the items. There were some connections that were crossed over on the headers down here. So I'm glad I got that figured out. It was only 1 or 2, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'd say let's go ahead and give it a test. Might be a little hard to see, but you can kind of tell how I got this in there. So, oops, the pin headers stick in between the cardstock that I have in there, and then the pins themselves actually make contact with the slots, or the slot rather. So let me get the card in, and we'll give it a smoke test, make sure everything doesn't catch fire. And after that, we'll plug in the drive. So it's always really satisfying when your projects just work. So the slot, actually those were to prevent the wires from getting snagged or whatever, but I put some pin headers as like spacers, but in reality the spacers make it a perfect fit. So this is snug all inside here, so that's really awesome to see. Come on, focus, there we go. So fits perfectly in the slot. Let's turn on the monitor. Okay, and smoke test. 3, 2, 1. All good so far. No fires. I think we're ready to get the drive powered on. So let's go ahead and do that. I always love watching the profile power up, so we'll do that. So I love the servos. All right, so we got our ready light ready. Ready light ready, and we have the ready light powered on. Alrighty, moment of truth. I don't know if you need a driver or not. We shall see. I'll have to see if I can find one. I wasn't able to see it on one of those archive pages. I think it exists for the 10 meg one, but I wasn't sure if you need one for this, the system utilities. So we'll see if it shows up here in a second. All right, so after playing around a little bit, it's actually the next day. So I managed to find a driver actually on the ADT Pro's sauce disk image. So I copied that into the system utilities. The drive is recognized. However, I think this was formatted for maybe a Lisa or something, because there is it shows no directory. So I'm having to figure out how to get it formatted. I don't know if I need an additional chip for that. We'll have to see. But I have this diagnostic program. I'm going to see if it will actually work. So we'll give it a test. All right, so mind the mess here. Been doing some just diagnostics. I figured it would be easier on the floor. I took it out of the case as well. So I'm going to kind of show you what I went through diagnostic wise. So I confirmed, like, double checked the chips, the pinouts to the header on the board, and as well as the actual like pins themselves to the chips. And I'll insert a photo here of what I found, and I believe it was 4 pin headers that were not soldered all the way through or had some flaky connections. So I went ahead and just doubled down on those and got them reconnected. And now we can see, if we come here, we'll go to list, we'll do console, I'll type in enter. Should see this flash a little bit. There we go. And we see the profile now. Now it does say no directory. I'm going to see if I can try formatting it. So we'll do that here. We'll do .profile. Hopefully I don't need to low level this. We'll do just profile. Oh, uh-oh. Well, so much for that. Okay. All right, so according to the level 2 manual, I'm doing whatever this is. I don't really know. Faulty sector list or something. So it's going through and reading. Looks kind of cool, so that's awesome. So far no errors. It says it's going to stop if there's any errors, so we are looking good so far. Fingers crossed. So I've got it mostly back together, and I think I'm going to leave off here. I'm waiting on some more parts. There was a GitHub project called ReProFile, which contains some diagnostic utilities for the profile disk, mainly for Lisa for emulation, but it does have a format tool. So I went ahead and ordered those. It won't be in for a little while, so I'll probably do another video once that gets in. But for now, I think I'm going to leave it off here. We did successfully get this card built out. It seems to work okay. I'm just waiting on that format tool. So I thank y'all for watching, and hope y'all stay tuned for the next video.